Hey there people, let's get started with the iOS 10. Now before we move on into the iOS development, there are a couple of things that you should have. Now these are not just part-time things that you can also work without them. No, it's not the case. You should have these things. So let's get started about them and talk about what are the basic essential requirement in order to produce an app for iOS 10. And it's great. So let's get started out here. The number one thing that you will require is an Apple hardware. That is unavoidable. You can have a Mac Mini, a MacBook Air, a MacBook Pro, or maybe an iMac, anything, but it should be an Apple product. Windows hardware is not gonna be good for this course. If you have a Windows hardware, no Mac, unfortunately this course is not gonna be working for you. Now you might be raising your hand, hey, Swift is now open source. Can I code in that? Yes, you can, but you cannot produce or you cannot just take your app into the Apple App Store without the Apple hardware. That is kind of a restriction, sad, but yes, that is number one requirement. And I'll be completely honest with you. Without that, this course is not gonna make much sense. And after a couple of days, you will be ranting on me that, hey, you are just cheating us. No, I don't want to do that. Let's just be professional out here. So number one thing, you should have Apple hardware. The number two thing is debatable, but I think you should have that. Now, a lot of people will say that you can work without an iPhone in this course as well, but my advice would be you might not have an iPhone, but you should have some experience with the iPhone because you're about to design a product for the iPhone. You should be completely familiar how the segue moves on, how the swipe to delete works, and how the things are present modally out there, and things like that. So a few years of experience or maybe a few months of experience on the iPhone is really required. It's going to take your app to the next level because you're completely friendly and familiar with the ecosystem of the iPhone. So that is important out there. You can just get away from the iPads and all these things. That will be okay, but at least you should be aware of either of the one. Okay, so these are the two off-topic important things out there. Now, okay, let's just assume that you have experience a little bit on the iPhone and have an Apple hardware as well. What is the next thing that you require? Now, the next thing that you require is a software xcode. And what you have to do, open up your nice little app store, which is in the bluish button, a nice A, and search for the xcode out there. And this is going to be there. Now, I know a lot of you have tried to take on with the other courses or maybe boot camps. And a lot of these courses are working on the betas, and eventually you have faced the problem that a lot of that code is not working because beta actually is made to fail up. So that code is no more running, but good news is this course is entirely being recorded on the final version of the xcode. And that is the reason why we have pushed this course a little bit back than the others, you can say. So don't worry. Every single code, every single polished application that will be working is gonna work on your system as well. That's a promise. So go ahead and download this xcode. Now take a cup of coffee or maybe a tea because this is gonna take a long while. It's 4.5 or maybe 5 gigabytes of the file. Yes, it's heavy because it's a complete ecosystem, complete IDE, integrated development environment. Apart from this, you will not need anything. So xcode is very important. So just go ahead, download this and install that. Installation is pretty simple. Just double click on what comes after the download. And it might ask you to install a couple of additional things, may ask you for the system passwords. Go ahead. Don't hesitate. Feel free to give it all that ask. It's a really good piece of software, and without this, designing app is gonna be kind of a dream. So go ahead and take this. Okay, so these are all the stuff that you require, but a couple of things are also essential because I believe that you are taking this course to improve your coding skills. Maybe you want to design an app, get a job into that, or maybe want to take your app into the App Store. So next of the things are also very much important. So the first thing is GitHub. Now, there is a competition with the Bitbucket. You can go ahead and try with the Bitbucket, or if you have an experience with other kind of Git repository, then feel free to go ahead. I'll be using the GitHub in this entire course. Now, why GitHub? You can just place your code into maybe Dropbox, but why GitHub? Now, if you're going to write some code and you make a mess in the code, you can actually get back on to the previous point. That's point number one. But the important part is when you write your code, you might want to take your code to the producer, possible employee, or maybe you might want to impress some company that I have designed this. So GitHub is one of those places where people get impressed with your code. And also that it's a simple environment where everybody just puts their code and helps the other community as well. So in case you want to help, maybe you want to impress the companies, or maybe you want to produce some good quality code, GitHub is required. Don't worry, I'm going to talk about in separate section how the GitHub works, how we can have that. So there will be a complete section on that. Just create an account on that. And we'll be also needing a software known as source tree app. Now this is kind of a neighbor software for the GitHub or maybe the Bitbucket. This is an easy way to upload your files on the GitHub. Yes, you can do with the command lines, but who loves the command line nowadays? Everybody hates that. It's a way. I am also a Linux programmer, so I do like that, but nobody likes that nowadays. So we'll be working on the source tree app, so make sure you have that. Now go on to the website developer.apple.com. I expect you might already having an Apple ID. Just go ahead and log in your account with the same Apple ID out here as well. It will ask you for a couple of permissions and a couple of terms and license and agreements. Just agree all of them. Why we are doing this? Because we want all of our app to be on our iPhone. Having your code in your hand is a very crucial experience. You should have that. Your first game, your first app, you can have that in your hand. This is a marvelous experience. When you will have the first experience, you will realize it automatically. So signing your account onto the developer.apple.com will allow you to deploy your app onto your iPhone, and that is a great thing. You can use your app. Now, it will ask you for the money in case you want to push your app to the App Store, but right now it's not required. Later on in the section when we will be pushing our sticker apps out there in the App Store, then we will discuss about where you want to enter your credit card details and how you can pay the $99 fees, which is the year fees. But that's a later on talk. Right now we don't want to just get you enrolled on that. So it's a good idea to just create an account, accept the agreement, and use your app on your iPhone. That's gonna be fun. Now, finally, Apple designing apps for an Apple is a completely different process, and there's going to be a next movie about what is about designing industry process out there. So we will be focusing a lot on the design of the application. Yes, code is going to be for sure there, but design is a crucial process, and for all of my designs I'll be using Sketch. You might be good in Photoshop, you might be already having that, so you can use that as well, but I'll be using Sketch. Sketch is a special software that by which you can create app screens, buttons, login icons, and a lot of things out there. So we'll be using the Sketch. Now, as a bonus in this course, you will be getting a full detailed training on the Sketch as well that will help you to produce professionally designed. A lot of courses just distribute $5,000 worth of graphics and assets. We don't do that. We will teach you how to design those $5,000 worths of graphics so that you can produce it by yourself. That is even better. So this is a long movie. We haven't done anything, but still we are getting prepared. Have patience. Have trust in me, and for sure, I promise that your apps are gonna make to the App Store. That's a promise. So go ahead and get all these stuff ready, and I'll see you in the next movie.